What's the scariest game you've ever played? For most, they might say an actual horror title. Perhaps some would say a non-horror title that has a creepy atmosphere or a single unexpected scare. But what if a game could hurt you? Even if it were otherwise fine, that capability existing at all would make it a bigger threat than anything else you could possibly play. This is the story of the scariest game ever made. This is the story of Cabin Fever. Released in 1983 in arcades, Cabin Fever was a landmark title for developer and publisher Zinlushen. It was well acclaimed for its addictive gameplay and utilization of new technology, that being its inclusion of a sound chip with which it would play extremely compressed audio samples from. You would spawn in a labyrinthine cabin armed with a camera and are tasked with navigating from room to room while scoring points from surviving and killing enemies. Eventually, there was even a chance that you would find the exit and win, though it would immediately loop back into room 1. This is all well and good, a gaming classic of the early 80s. As all things from this era, it began fading slowly out of the public zeitgeist as the industry moved forward to bigger and better things. Or it would have, if not for the enemies. Strangely, the game's antagonists made very little sense and were hardly elaborated upon. The basic enemies were these red, crawling hands that would only be destroyed if caught in the range of the camera. While they were weird and creepy, so were many basic enemies from back then. For the hands, what made them really unsettling was their audio, made worse by the game's total lack of music, unnecessary loss in exchange for the audio samples. That was the fever beast. If you take too long in a room, eventually it will appear, and it will chase you across several rooms from there. You cannot kill it, and it sounds horrific. And this is where things get truly strange. This game has a body count tied to it. Shortly after its release, in 1984, teenager Jason Andrews entered an arcade in Edmonton, Alberta. He never came back out. Jason had a history of epilepsy and experienced a seizure at some point during the gameplay process. It's believed that the seizure induced apnea and an abnormal heart rhythm, and that led to cardiac arrest. This is considered very rare, an unfortunate freak occurrence. To arcade goers, this answer was too absurd. Let's go back a step. This game, Polybius, was Zinlushen's first. Cabin Fever was their second, and the title that really put them on the map, But before it came out, Polybius had tied their name to legend. You see, Polybius was similarly groundbreaking. It was said to be a shooter with an angled view and psychedelic effects, flashing lights and high-octane action that, for the time, wowed any player who came across it. It looked as though it was sucking its players in. An addictive game is one thing, and should have been a massive triumph for the fledgling studio, but it wasn't. It wasn't because Zinlushan was so new and run by highly eccentric people who had few connections in an area that was distant from the games industry. They had no manufacturer. Every cabinet was assembled by hand. As a result, very few cabinets were made, centered mostly around their home of Edmonton and Portland due to a deal with an unknown third party. Its obscurity made the scene of its impact feel much more insidious. By this time, there was already much talk of government conspiracies and satanic plots to indoctrinate children. Polybius had become an urban legend in Portland, centered around its visuals and its supposed mind-altering effects. Murmurs of men in black being spotted interacting with the cabinet, claims that several of the geometric shapes were pentagrams, rumors that the game could cause seizures. Due to sheer word of mouth, canny investors took notice of Zinlushan, men in suits, and they provided the funding for their follow-up game, now with the resources for mass production. You can see why, given the precedent, that a hysteria would be brewing around Zinlushan. While in the gaming community, the rumor behind the teenager's death would place the blame on the fever beast itself, concerned parents suspected certain darker elements. What before was contained to a single city was now being talked about in the national news, and a tempest of chaos was brewing. Rumors began. There was one that Jason had his mind sucked into the game, and the seizure was simply what happened to the brain once it had been emptied. There were other death rumors, including one particularly resilient one about another teenager dropping dead after breaking into an arcade while it was closed and trying to pry into the internals of the cabinet. The story went that, while initial reporting survives, any authorities supposedly involved will act as if they have no idea that it ever happened. Of course, these rumors probably aren't true. There were rumors about people dying if they played right after a high score was obtained, but only if they reached the famed escape screen, where it would display text saying, "The golden age has come and gone," and Beast could supposedly kill you just before the escape sequence. It would have strange behavior, like suddenly stopping mid-chase and just sitting there. The Fever Beast's audio would randomly be extremely high fidelity, and it would display strange, cryptic text. People wanted to play the game again. People wanted to be scared. And maybe someone was listening.
Hey everyone, it's been a while. I don't know why Davey is doing that kind of narration style, but I'll ignore that for now. I bet if you're subscribed to us before this video, you're probably wondering how this connects to anything. So let me explain. This is going to be very confusing if you're not caught up on everything, so I recommend looking through our video catalog if you haven't already. After Arthur's discovery last video, it inspired me to look deeper at a lot of our past leads. We found 2 more images through various Grimfiend accounts and hit another brick wall. But I noticed how these 3 images differ from the others. These are just pictures of a dog. And, in some of them, the dog doesn't really seem to be smiling. I think these are our oldest images yet. I wanted to look back after finding these, and I looked hard, and among all things, I found something new in the solar plexus clown glider lead. That's right, we're going back there. The Paranormal Crickets page for it mentions that the most recent image was associated with an email worm. The article talked about it like it's recent, and it was posted in March 2005, so I looked into it. What I ended up finding is that the worm was in fact real, and the malware was also associated with a distribution of a main ROM for cabin fever. The executables were distinct, but the payload was the same. The cabin fever version, from what I can tell, was actually playable, even though it wasn't a ROM. I can't find images of it anywhere due to link rot, though. Around the same time that would have been happening, SimLotion was infamously bought out and set to remake and remaster their classic titles for the mobile generation. All Polybius footage in this video has actually been from the 2008 mobile remake, since it was big on the iPhone App Store in the early days, and the original cabinets are so obscure. You can't really find pictures of people playing this thing. I know there were some stills that we found, but that was about it. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned yet in the script, because I want to see how people react, is that the main reason cabin fever is popular today is because it's the subject of a lost media investigation. Well, how can that be, with MAME ROMs floating around and all this footage? It's because the lost version is a supposed mobile port. Infamously, the revived SimLotion dissolved in on itself due to murky reasons. Resignations and disappearances. Most clearly of note is an image posted to the Blogger blog of a former developer. I don't need to tell you why this looks familiar, but until we find that supposed ROM distribution or mobile port, it's hard to bring this lead much further forward.
Solar plexus clown gliders connecting back to cabin fever at all is fascinating. Smile dog is also commonly associated with epileptic seizures, and that initial death is suspect. An immortal smiling enemy, a new sound chip. Sure, the graphics might not have enough detail to convey the curse, but what if it was conveyed through that other medium? If true, it would push back the dog's origin all the way to the 1980s. The evidence is entirely circumstantial outside of the later pirate distributions in the 2000s, but it's still worth checking in on. But until then, the truth of cabin fever and the fever beast will remain a mystery.
I really don't know why he's talking like that, but anyway, if you ask me, my hunch is that the way this is connected is not visual at all. I feel like the graphics are just too simple for a basilisk to spread through it, even in spite of the seizure connection. The thing that Cabin Fever did that was so groundbreaking was implementing audio samples. And if audio can be connected to the source of the Smile Dog Basilisk, especially so early in its history, that heavily implies that the original source is not just a photograph. I'll leave it at that. Just to close out here, let me answer some questions from the last upload. Who edited this video in regards to Forbidden Fruit? The editing style feels very different from the others, outside of year and rear view. Yeah, that was me. I kind of rushed the editing on that one, which is why it's so disjointed and all over the place. Just to answer another question a lot of people had is why Mario showed up. That's because Arthur was playing Mario again. I just put that in and kind of assumed that people would get the context, but obviously if you just put images of Mario and Mario sounds play, people might assume that, well, they're not going to assume anything, they're just going to be fucking confused that you did that. So that's where that came from. They also ask here, does having a general idea of what's happening in the future sound exciting? Does it cause anxiety? Probably seems like nothing next to the dog thing. Oh God. Um, Me personally, I really don't like that it's tied to the future at all. From what we see, basilisks tend to be tied to tragedy, and if there's a bad thing happening in the future, just not very optimistic. Do any of you plan on trying to reach out to Grinfiend? Hell no! What? Why would we do that? that guy if that's like one person, a best case scenario, that's just the dog. Worst case scenario, that guy's probably a straight up ghoul. Bringing ghoul back, Jesus. Man. So here's another question. If the time dilation thing is affecting us, how do you guys know it isn't affecting each of you? Well, I can go to the store and people are like, yup, I'm wearing a COVID mask. I know what's happening. I go on the Discord for like 2 days and everyone is just giving Davey lottery numbers and shit, and Davey goes to get those lottery tickets and it works. Everything we interact with outside of the channel is still 2021. So it's all you guys, as far as I know. Also, yes, I did ask Arthur, and yes, it's the same time for all of us. I mean, we put the date in the video. If there was a difference, we would have noticed then. And lastly, we have this, it's not really a question, but I'm putting it here anyway. Does this dog really think it can just offer to send itself to Patreon members as sketches, and nobody will suspect anything? Okay, so we just stopped doing the sketches, and it's because of the time dilation thing, not because of the dog. For all we know, people in the other time, you guys, just aren't affected by the dog the same way that we are. Don't know why that is, but I'll put it this way. If you could get infected by the dog the same way that we are, you would be in the same position that I am right now. Because a lot more images should have been censored that weren't. And the reason why we stopped doing the sketches because of the time dilation thing, it's just because it got so ridiculous this last time. I had to do like months worth of several months worth of sketches within a few days, and it was really delaying video production. So we're just not doing the sketches anymore. I don't know what we'll replace that with, but keep that in mind if you want to go to the Patreon again. There's still the 2 tiers. It's just that one of them is $15 and one of them's $5. I guess maybe the $15 one might have. We'll just give extra shit to the 15 tier if we find place for it, but that's about it, I think. No more sketches. No more.